You are Locked On Falcons POSTCAST, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Falcons POSTCAST, your home for the best Atlanta Falcons football talk. It's local insight you can't get anywhere but right here at Locked On. I'm your host, Tenitra Batiste. Alongside me are Jarvis, Davis, and Aaron Freeman. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. The Locked On Falcons POSTCAST is also part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So 7-8, but 18 didn't. Intentional or not? Intentional or not, we'll talk about that. And special teams was lit tonight, except maybe one guy will download on that. But first, let's talk about how the Falcons D did its job tonight. Now, Jarvis, on today's Atlanta football party, we talked about Pro Bowl voting beginning, and one player we'd like to see on defense have a Pro Bowl type of performance tonight. I think a couple guys really had those type of big-time performances, whether you talk about the turnover battle or putting the Falcons in position to get a turnover or get the ball back into the offense's hands in good field position. That said, let's start with a guy that we kind of sort of said we sure would like to see something good out of him, and he actually delivered, and that's Justin Simmons, who had a pick and a pass breakup tonight.
Yeah, I think that, this is the type of game that I've been asking for, Justin to come through with, right? Because you brought him in to be the guy that can make plays on the ball, and he was able to, do that, with the interception. So I think the overall, although, true enough, Justin Simmons definitely deserves the credit, and we're going to talk about a couple other guys. But I think Jimmy Lake, in the big first 3.5 or 3 and 3/4 quarter of the game, I think
caveat, Jarvis. Caveat.
You know what I'm saying? I had to come with it, bro, because I was just like, what is going on, dog? Like, I just walked the dog down the field. But anyway, I think that game plan early on, just the aggressiveness, like when they're in 2nd and 8 or 7, like you coming up in the line of scrimmage, you sending pressure, you sending your guy, you bringing 55 in there, man. That dude almost looked like doggone Abe out there, mug, tonight. So when you think about, the aggressiveness, with the play calling and the schemes and just really trying to make the quarterback uncomfortable and being intentional about it, I feel like that kind of bleeded over to the players. And I think that, Justin Simmons was definitely a guy that, okay, all right, I'm trying to go out and take the football away and give the offense extra possessions.
Indeed. And when you look at, like you said, the opportunities that Jimmy Lake gave his defense to be aggressive and just get after it, that is, Aaron, how you're able to see a Justin Simmons actually pick off Desmond Ridder and actually get a pass breakup, because they were really getting after it and getting after it early and often. So, because you were the kinder of the two to Justin Simmons earlier today, I just wanted to start off with Justin and what you thought about his performance tonight.
I thought it was solid. I thought
that's an upgrade. So that's an upgrade for him.
We'll take what we can get
from this show.
What I say with the Falcons, beggars can't be choosers, and we'll take what we can get. I thought Desmond Ridder just basically threw him the ball, and that's why he got that interception. But hey, it's a turnover. It still counts in the stat sheet, so I'm not complaining. So, shout out to Desmond Ridder, just handing him that interception. And so
good to see the other quarterback hand somebody an interception.
Yeah. So we're starting this thing on positive. D'Angelo Malone, nice to see you, D'Angelo Malone. Hey, haven't seen you in a long time.
Exactly.
So if we're talking about guys that stepped up in a major way, I like seeing that. I like seeing Caden Ellis really, as Jarvis said, in first 3.5 quarters, really doing a great job. Then they kind of pulled him back, and that led to some issues. But we can get into that later if we want to.
Yeah, and I want to talk about him. So hold that thought on 55 for a second, Jarvis, because Free went ahead and talked about D'Angelo. Let's just stay right there, because it was good to see him be able to get home twice tonight.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, we know he has the capability of it, right? He has the athletic ability. He has the speed. He has to get off to be able to, get around that edge. And the one thing about him is what's going to help him as he continues to develop as a pass rusher is the fact that he just keeps coming.
Yeah.
If the quarterback holds on to the football, he's going to probably get there. If you don't get rid of that thing, and that's how he ended up getting one of those sacks. Another thing, and I think God bless Arnold Ebiketie, but man, that dude's he know how to run past the quarterback.
And the funny thing is,
like,
Jarvis, I had stepped away at that point, and I came back and I saw your tweet, and I was like, "Oh, AK!" Like you didn't even say his name, and I knew it.
He beat the tackle so clean. Just clean. I'm talking about boop, boop, boop. Dip real up under that thing. The dude had the doggone almost grab him by the neck, the doggone try to stop him. And he still ran past the quarterback. I was like, bro, what are you doing? What are you looking at? Your depth perception is off or something, bro. Like, what's going on? But seriously though, I think that D'Angelo Malone did a heck of a job. And it was just really, really cool to see the Matt Ryan pick, starting to come, do a little something. You know what I'm saying? Like, for those you don't know, hey, man, he's the third round pick that they used, that they got, that and a bag of donuts, you know what I'm saying, for trading away the best quarterback in franchise history. There we go.
Feels like a
well, like Aaron said, we'll stay in our happy place and not relive that particularly sad moment for Falcons Nation. They might not have known it at the time, but it was a sad moment. But there were some happy moments there as well. You guys kind of alluded to it. And we saw 10 tackles for loss. That was huge tonight as well, in addition to those sacks and to those pass breakups. You talk about Kentavious Street and the fact that he had one that eventually caused a safety. So good to kind of see him get that TFL, but also to make the Raiders pay in that very next play. And then also you guys have mentioned Caden Ellis and Rukaroro both had some big TFLs. Ellis's performance, absolutely expected. Like, we are starting to get used to seeing this from 55, but still want to give him credit for being able to get it done, and also see Rook back after not seeing him since week 8.
Yeah, and give some love for Zach Harrison as well.
Yes, absolutely.
And so I think overall, these last couple of weeks, the thing that has really changed for this defense coming out of the bye is the front is winning much more consistently against the run, rushing the quarterback. That has been, to me, the catalyst for this defense's, again, it hasn't always been great, but their turnaround based off of where they were going into the bye. We were sitting there going like, what is wrong with this defense? And coming out of the bye, we're like, hey, there's still some issues they got to clean up, but they're moving in the right direction. And this is the type of defense performance that you saw in this game, really controlling and dominating line of scrimmage, I think. And so all of those guys across the board, as you mentioned, Rook and Harrison and Kentavious Street and Caden Ellis and all those guys, you just saw those guys consistently winning up front. And I think that's been a huge part of why this defense has looked a lot better these last couple of games, including on Monday night.
Yeah, and there's nothing like consistency, Jarvis, because that was maybe one of the highlights as opposed to lowlights against the Minnesota Vikings, because at least you saw some consistency in this defense's ability to stop the run. You saw it again tonight because the Raiders only had 65 rushing yards on 12 carries. The longest run was just 12 yards. So, yeah, that is one of those where you like to see it, because that tells you that the front is winning in the trenches.
Absolutely. And just the ferocity that these guys were coming off the ball. Yeah, I was like, it was almost like people had something in them. It was like they had to go to the bathroom or something, the way these cats were coming off the ball. It was just crazy. Not number two, because you're a little different. You move a little different when you got to number two. When you gotta go to the bathroom, like number one, oh yeah, it gets real. Yeah, Aaron, don't look at me like
okay.
that.
When you said number two, I was thinking of a football player, and then I realized this is Jarvis we're talking about.
This is Jarvis we're talking about.
Yeah. It took him a second. That's why I gave you that look, Jarvis. That's why.
Yeah, man. So, but yeah, like I was saying though, before I was really interrupted. Yes, like this is what you want to see from the defensive line. This is what I've been, talking to a higher power about. Like, hey man, I need y'all guys to play like I know some of y'all can play. And you just saw it from everybody. Like we talk about, we're naming Kentavious Street, Zach Harrison,
yes.
Malone, Grady Jarrett, Davon Yamada. Like everybody was just getting after. Everybody just getting off the ball and trying to win and trying to meet at the quarterback or meet at the running back. And let me put my hands on them. Let me breathe on them. Let them know I'm there. And it was just a beautiful thing to watch. up front. So yeah, this turnaround has been pretty doggone solid. I really have appreciated the adjustment that these guys have made and the consistency, like you mentioned, T. It's been consistent ever since coming out of that bye week. The defense has been so consistent. Now, granted, they gave us some big plays. I'm glad they eliminated those.
Yeah.
You had some stuff towards the end that was a little leaky-ish. You probably would have, stayed aggressive in those moments. But, hey, I think overall, though, like the way they've been getting after the opposing quarterback and putting him on the ground, I think this is something that they can continue to build on, and hopefully it can be the catalyst for them, trying to march to this playoff some way, somehow.
Yeah. And Free, just before we wrap up, also just wanted to give the secondary some love and some credit for what they were able to do and being a part of that tackle for loss and that tackle party today, because like you were saying, Jarvis, everybody was trying to do their jobs. This goes back to what Jerry Gray was saying. Hey, Jessie Bates III, don't do everybody else's job. Just do your job. And I felt like there were enough opportunities and enough situations where we saw the secondary actually individually and therefore collectively do their jobs.
They got to put an APB out on Brock Bowers, right? He was not a factor in this game. And we sat here for
out the game.
A whole week being like, this guy's going to tear this defense apart. And they kept them in check. And so credit goes to the secondary. And it'll be interesting to go and look at the film and see how they were able to do it and whatnot with the different ways. And as Jarvis predicted, they were going to throw a lot of different looks. That seemed to be sort of what I saw watching on television. But yeah, the secondary deserves some love for keeping the Raiders' number one weapon in check. And we know with the Falcons, like it's always when it's like, hey, don't let this one guy beat you. And the history of the Falcons is like, well, is that something that we have to do? Because we like to let the one guy beat us sometimes, and they did not do that tonight. And so that is something very positive to take away from this game.
And JD, I think it might have been Free, but it could have been you as well. Earlier we talked about, I think it was Free saying, don't forget about Jacoby Myers. And I feel like they didn't forget about Jacoby Myers, because with Brock Bowers, 3 catches for 35 yards, Jacoby Myers, 5 receptions, but only 59 yards. So it seems like even that other guy that maybe we were a little concerned about was, for the most part, contained as well.
Yeah, and that's what you look for. That's what you want. And a lot of times, when you get to the point where the quarterback really doesn't know who's going to be guarded or what type of coverage they're going to have, I think that was the whole point, because we saw Lorenzo Carter on Brock Bowers. Like, well, hey, I said be varied, but not that varied. Like, come on now. Hold what you got. You saw Mike Hughes. Mike Hughes was on Brock, on top of him. You know what I'm saying? Like, I thought on that particular play, he played it perfectly. Like, I know you're a hell of a player, but you're not about to run past me. I know that much. You're like, I'm gonna make Desmond Ridder make a professional starter in the NFL type throw in order for you to get a completion on that particular play. So yeah, I think that this was one of those games where you say, hey, you knew exactly who they were trying to get the football coming to this game, and you held them down.
Yeah, well, we knew that the Falcons were definitely going to get the football to 7, and he 8, but 18 didn't. Intentional or not? We'll explain in the deep dive. This episode of our Locked On Falcons postcast is brought to you by Gametime. So Gametime is focused on togetherness this holiday season. That means when you bring people together at live events, the experience is that much better, and it's the perfect gift. Gametime has a new feature called Gametime Picks that makes getting tickets for live events even easier, and it filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. There's seat views where you can get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy, and the lowest price guarantee, or Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply, but again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNFL, LOCKEDON NFL for $20 off. Download that Gametime app today, because What time is it? It is game time. And this episode of our Locked On Falcons postcast is brought to you by FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. So just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. We are a little over a week away from Christmas, so this might be a good look for you. Again, go to FanDuel.com to get $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports book partner of the NFL and America's #1 sportsbook. So the Falcons had a lot of opportunities tonight to take advantage of a Raiders team that we knew was ranked 25th in the league in red zone defense, 30th in points allowed per game, yet Falcons offense never got into the red zone. They only scored 15 points tonight in, of course, the eventual 15-9 win. And it appeared at times, maybe it was just me, guys, but it appeared at times the Falcons are kind of okay with a conservative game plan for Kirk Cousins. And we knew the Falcons were going to win this game on the ground, but real talk, Free, did you expect a stat line of 11 of 17 for 112 yards that, of course, included a pick to start the second half, only one touchdown, which was the first one since November 3rd? I mean, do you think maybe it was intentional that the Falcons kind of kept the ball out of those hands tonight?
Yes, it was very intentional. They've been conservative since the bye week on offense. They've been basically a run pass offense, and that's been their answer given Kirk Cousins' struggles. And tonight was them really doubling down on that approach and basically run pass. And you saw this offense, and when you play that way, your margin for error is not very good. Again, the Falcons ran the ball effectively, but you saw as the game wore on, when they would get a false start, when they would get a negative run play, it would kind of throw things out of whack, where it was like they got off schedule offensively because of how conservative they were. They couldn't really get those yards back. So if they got into anything more than like a 3rd and 2 or whatever it was, I got to go check the stats to see what it was. But like it felt like anytime it was more than like 2 or 3 yards that they had to convert on a 3rd down, they weren't going to convert it just because of how conservative they were on offense. And you wanted to see this be sort of a rebound game from Kirk. I think he showed progress last week against the Vikings, against a much better defense. And, still turned the ball over last week. But you did see some big time throws from Kirk in that game down the field. And then this week against a worse defense without their star player. And I thought Kirk's first half was okay. Like, he got the monkey off his back, threw the touchdown to Drake London, a great play call, great catch, great throw, all that stuff. It wasn't pretty outside of that one play, but you're like, okay, like he's got to get into a rhythm in the second half. This thing will open up and the Falcons offense will start to look like the offense that we think it is. And it was first play coming out of the half, throws a pick. And the Falcons were like, well, we're not doing that again. And they just basically played as conservative as you possibly could for the remainder of the half. And that is directly related to keeping the ball out of Kirk Cousins' hands based off of him making that mistake on the opening play coming out of the half.
Yeah, and you're right in terms of the 3rd down efficiency, 4 of 13. So there were definitely some struggles there. And also, Jarvis, the struggles in the red zone. And like you said, we talked about that. First of all, they not getting in the red zone is an issue. And then when you get in the red zone, the challenge is you don't punch it in for a score, right? So that's something that, unfortunately, we kind of saw rear its ugly head again tonight because, hey, Falcons didn't get in the red zone, period. But you do kind of look at that as, wow, that's in part, or could be in part, because, you're rushing the ball, and maybe after a while your competition kind of figures out your opponent, well, that's what they're going to do. And you know that you can't rely on 18? I mean, Jarvis, is that where we are and what we kind of saw tonight? The fact that Zach Robinson, Raheem Morris understand, yes, they're going to ride out with their guy, but they got to ride out in a different way.
They don't trust nephew. They don't trust him. They don't trust the guy that they brought in here to right the ship. They don't trust the guy that they said was an elite processor. They don't trust the guy that they paid $100 million in guaranteed money to. That is so interesting because here's the thing. Like football coaches always talk about, being in a space where it's almost like what have you done for me lately?
Yeah.
If we go off of that, and the league is called not for long for a reason, man, wow, like what is so gripping that you have to essentially throw out what you want to do as an offense? You're throwing it out. You're throwing it out the window. You're 11 personnel. Hey man, we're trying to push the ball down the field. We're trying to get some chunk plays. You got all these pass catchers that you drafted, best player available. You done all this crap to get an offense that can put up 25 to 30 points a game.
Yeah.
And then you finally get the guy that you feel can do it. And here we are talking about run, pass. Run, pass. 15 points against the Raiders?
Yeah.
15 points? You up here running out the field goal team, trying to doggone draw somebody off sides? What is going on? Like, really? I didn't see not one bit of innovative anything on this offense. This offense was so boring to watch.
Yeah.
It was so boring. The only thing that kept my attention was Bijan Robinson.
Yeah.
like the jump cuts and being able to get outside and press that doggone hole with that safety running his happy behind up in the line of scrimmage, and he bounced that mug outside immediately and he beats him to the corner to the sideline. That's amazing to watch. But oh my gosh, like being able to capitalize off of that, it's just awful when they try to go play action. Why can't y'all block it up? Why?
Yeah.
Why? If especially if that's how your quarterback has had success in the past, you can't even give it a pass. You can't even get a pass off when they go play action. Why? So yeah. This offense, this head coach, this offensive coordinator, they do not trust nephew.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying his name for a reason because I won't say his name until he throws 2 touchdown passes in one game. I won't say his name ever again. His name is Nephew. For those who are wondering who I'm talking about, his name is Nephew. He's been demoted. Sorry. So yeah, they don't trust the man, and that's all. As they treated him like a rookie quarterback.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, no question.
That's the game plan they ran out there. They ran out there with a rookie quarterback game plan.
Yeah.
And not a first round pick rookie, like a 7th round pick.
No.
A
late
3rd
rounder.
round pick.
Yeah.
Out of Cincinnati type game plan.
Yeah. Yeah. Because even he got an opportunity to toss the ball around the yard more.
Around the field team?
Yeah. I mean, when Desmond Ridder got more opportunity. Yeah. And don't get me wrong, they obviously didn't have a rush attack tonight, so he had to toss it down the field 39 times. But still, even if that, like, if he had half of what he did tonight,
he was capable of throwing the ball if you wanted to down the field.
Yep. Yeah, that was a little bit scary. But there was a bright spot. We got to talk about the bright spot before we wrap up, and that is Bijan Robinson, somebody who tonight surpassed the 1,000-yard mark in rushing yards for the first time in his career, surpassed 100 scrimmage yards on the day. First Falcon to actually go 10 or more games with over 100 scrimmage yards in a single season since Julio Jones in 2018. So, guys, before we wrap up, just wanted to give a shout out to Bijan Robinson for essentially being the offense tonight, but also for the right side of that O-line making that happen.
He's worth the price of admission. Him and Tyler Algier
no question.
like Tyler Algier just running over dudes, like him and Bijan just juking dudes. Like that's literally the only reason to watch the Falcons. It's just like I just want to see, like, when I go and watch the film tomorrow, I'm just going to just show me the run plays. I don't want to see the passing offense. I don't want to see nothing from that because there's nothing positive coming out of that outside of one play. And so like Bijan's great. He's been great the entire season. He deserves a Pro Bowl bid or whatever when we talk about that. He's been consistently the best football player on the planet, worth the price of admission, all that stuff, or best football player on the team, I should say. Maybe not the best football player on the planet, but he's getting there. Sometimes he looks like when he jukes somebody over the field, like, there's only a couple guys on the planet that could do that. So yeah, he's been amazing so far this year, and he was again tonight.
Who else was amazing? The special teams. They were lit tonight. Okay, maybe except one guy. But anyway, Marquise Williams' squad showed up in Vegas, and we'll talk about it in What's Next. This episode of our Locked On Falcons postcast is brought to you by the College Football Playoff. It's that time of the year. The College Football Playoff is back. And with the newly expanded 12-team format, it's guaranteed to be bigger and better than ever, bringing you all the hard-hitting and high-flying excitement that you love. TNT Sports coverage of the College Football Playoff begins December 21st, starting with the College Football Playoff Kickoff Show presented by AT&T at 11 a.m. Eastern, leading into the first matchup, the Southern Methodist University Mustangs battling the Penn State Nittany Lions at noon. Then the Clemson Tigers look to upset the Texas Longhorns in a showdown at 4 p.m. Eastern. Don't miss a moment of the action. Watch the College Football Playoff presented by Allstate live on TNT, True TV, TBS, and Max. So what a day, what a day. The special teams squad had themselves a day. Daryl Hodge, the chip punt, the block punt, Avery Williams with a couple of good kickoff returns, Antonio Hamilton downing a punt on the Raiders' 3-yard line, and man, minus what we saw from Younghoe Koo at moments. But Jarvis, you got to say that this third phase, it was so important to how this game played out tonight.
Absolutely. You talking about winning the field position battle.
Indeed.
Like to be honest with you can say the defense and special teams won. Won this game for the Falcons. We talking about winning 2 out of 3 phases of the game. That's the epitome of it when you can do it with defense and special teams, especially in today's game where you can go out there and sneeze and score 14 points with giving away the rules are set up. So, I think that's one of the things that you have to appreciate, because we were talking about, about halfway through the season, how Marquise Williams was like, hey, man, they might use you as a scapegoat at the end of the year. But I think that the way he was aggressive tonight and Cardell Hodge just continues just to be a guy that you have to have on your team. Yeah. I just love what he's been able to do. Shout out HBCU. Cardell Hodge is a guy that you got to really appreciate having a guy like that on your squad, and for him to be able to get his name in the paper, so to speak, it was just a beautiful thing to watch.
Yeah, and in addition to him, we haven't spoken a lot about Avery Williams, Aaron, this season, but some good showing from him tonight as well. But yeah, I just think overall this was one of those bounce back games for Marquise Williams' unit.
Yeah, Jarvis nailed it, where we're sitting here being a little underwhelmed with the special teams overall for the first 3 months of the season, being like, we think we know this unit's capable of more than that, and I think they showed it in this game. And without the special team, the field position battle was everything to this team, because you can argue 12 of their 15 points came directly due to field position, where they had like 4 offensive possessions where they started out beyond their own 40-yard line. They got 10 of their points off of that. Then you add in the safety where they were able to down the ball inside the 5 and whatnot, and that led directly to the safety with the D-line sort of stepping up in that way. So without them winning the field position battle, they probably lose this game like 9-3 or something like that, and it's just like, we're having, a very different conversation right now on this postcast. So special teams, this is just like that Saints game early in the season where the defense and special teams sort of won the game for them with the offense stagnating. Special teams and defense really won them the game this week tonight. And so it's nice to see, at least when the offense is playing as poorly as it has been, the other units are sort of stepping up to pick up some of the slack. And that's what you need, to play good football. And again, if one of these days we can get all three phases to click in the same game, hey, man, Falcons are cooking. They're cooking, but we're not there yet. We're not there yet.
Yeah. What do we say, Free? Beggars can't be choosers. So, if the defense is getting turnovers and special teams is flipping the field, let's just go ahead and be thankful for that. And hey, look, Younghoe Koo, you at least kicked 2 of those 3 field goals and got him to go through. So we'll actually take that and kind of walk away with it as well. But one more thing before we wrap up, and we certainly hope that this is not going to be a full-on story. But Jarvis, we do have to, of course, mention Nate Landman, who went out of the game with a neck injury, and granted was able to return, but neck injuries are very quirky in terms of what they might look like or how they might affect a player 24 hours later. And if he happens to go down, that could also be a challenge, because we know we got word today that Troy Anderson is officially done for the season. He's out on IR. So when you look at those 2 players, or even one of them not being available, we know for sure for the rest of the season, I mean, how big of an impact could that have on a trending up defense in the Falcons?
I think that this defense has kind of gotten used to not having 44 in there, right? When you think about it, you know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
I guess given the way they've been playing, being a little bit more aggressive, using Ellis a little bit more so, and sending pressure. You've seen King getting a lot of looks, as far as from dime packages and stuff like that. So I think it kind of has forced them to kind of figure out life without 44. So I'm not too concerned, but if you find yourself missing a guy like Nate Landman, or if he does miss time, or something does come up, or there is some type of, knick-knack that pops up, out of nowhere with him, that's when you're going to be looking around like this, like Will Smith. Caden Dell's going to be there like Will Smith like the last episode of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. So I think that because you're going to get a guy like J.D. Bertrand is going to get a little bit more, playing time. We saw what happened, with him in coverage. So I think, for the most part, hopefully this isn't anything that it was just a little stinger or something, and he kind of worked his way through it and was able to finish the game. And with a little rest, he'll be fine. But yeah, you don't want to have yourself looking around, at the end of the week and like, Nate Landman's not going to be around. Like, J.D. Bertrand, I guess. So yeah, you don't want to be in that situation.
Yeah, not for this stretch, Free. You hope that you don't have that we don't have that conversation Thursday, right?
Yeah, I mean, you hope not, but this is J.D. Bertrand's opportunity to show because Landman's been beat up all season, Anderson's been beat up all season, and so it's like, they say availability is the best ability, and J.D. Bertrand's missed some time too with injuries as well, but he can stay healthy and play well. He's rocking the Guardian cap now, so hopefully it won't.
That's slowing him down, man.
It's not aerodynamic. Yeah, you're right, Jarvis. It's not aerodynamic. But hopefully he can stay healthy down the stretch, and maybe he plays well enough that we're having a conversation about, hey, maybe J.D. Bertrand's the guy that should be starting next to Caden Ellis next year. So that's an opportunity. It's always the next man up sort of situation there for the Falcons. But I agree with Jarvis. Like, it does feel like the Falcons, because of all the injuries at the linebacker position, have sort of been able to make do with it. But it's certainly not ideal at this point in the season, especially when you need to be playing your best ball down the stretch.
Indeed. Well, listen, we appreciate our everydayers for making the Locked On Falcons postcast the first listen of the day. Make your second listen of the day Locked On Falcons. In fact, even take a listen to free right after we wrap the postcast. Be sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And of course, we're free and available wherever you download your podcasts. See you Thursday as we preview what the Falcons need to do to make it 2 dubs in a row when they host the Giants Sunday.